Katherine Homuth is here in studio. She's the founder and CEO of Sheertex, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I will not tell you, well, I'm going to tell you just how excited people on our team were to have you here, because your product, Sheertex tights, are incredible, and people are very upset that there should be anything bad happening at Sheertex.
It's been a very hard journey building this company over the course of the last 8 years. The cost to produce a single pair 8 years ago was $100 a pair. So what we've had to do is take basically a ballistic grade polymer and build the entire infrastructure from powder through yarn production, knitting, and sewing to make this product possible. It's why it's unbreakable, but that's meant we've invested tens of millions of dollars in infrastructure for Canadian manufacturing here in Montreal. So the news this week that you talk about is just ground shifting for a company like us.
For you too, so that same word that the lawyer would use. Yeah. And 85%, give us an idea of what that number is. 85% of your business goes to the U.S.?
So much so that we were the #1 selling pair of tights in the U.S. in 2023. So we have invested millions of dollars to build our brand in the U.S. And as much as we could go replicate this in Europe, that's going to take marketing investment. It's going to take time. And all of the orders that we've lined up at a very large scale this year are with B2B retailers. So we're working hard to try to shift to see, can we actually get Canadian retailers to step up? Because we actually have more U.S. retailers backing us right now than Canadian retailers. So we have a lot of exposure to the U.S. market. We're also rushing right now to get product across the border, which is getting hit with
before any tariffs take effect.
Except we already have initial tariffs.
Okay, you're affected by this de minimis change for the Chinese imports?
It's actually more complicated than that, unfortunately, because we use more than 9% of materials in our tights that come from outside of the US and Canada. And because of that, we already are not considered made in Canada by USMCA rules. So we're already subject to a 16% tariff. That was for our B2B orders.
Okay.
So 16 plus 25 is what we're facing.
41%?
41% tariffs.
Would you be able to continue as a business at that
level?
level?
I don't think anyone could. It's an insane level of tariff. And then that's not just B2B. With the de minimis exemption being gone, it will also be for all of our D2C orders. So
with direct to customer?
Direct to consumer, exactly. The ones that were less than $800 that we were shipping just through our website to the US.
You're looking at more than half at this point.
Exactly.
With this, if it takes effect.
It's literally tens of millions of dollars in tariffs that we would face if it took effect today. So we have a couple strategies, and there's ways that we can face this. We can get product across the border fast, which means
you're doing already.
Which we're doing already, but it's immediate payment of that 16% that we weren't forecasting, because that's unsold product moving into the US. Then the second part is, can we get rid of that 16% by sourcing US fiber instead of Korean or Italian fiber that we were using before? The answer is yes, but again, we have to pay for that fiber up front. We have to wait 2 to 3 months. We have to switch everything over. So the actual answer is we need Canadian retailers to step up and support right now, so that we don't have to be doing all of these immediate expenses into the US market. And that's really what I've been putting a rallying call out to our consumers and Canadians is, how do we get, for us, it's Shoppers Drug Mart, it's Rexall, it's Jean Coutu, it's Sephora. How do we get them to support Canadian manufacturers now?
Well, if ever there was a moment, what we're seeing in that impetus to buy Canadian, it might be something that helps you in the end. But in the meantime, all of what is before you has led you to take the measures with your staff. Tell me about having to tell your staff. How many workers are we talking about? Well, 40% of 350.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it was a huge percentage of our staff, and really the way that we went about it to do temporary means we have 6 months to recall them. So it has, at the end of the day, rallied the rest of the team to say, how do we do everything in our power in the next 6 months to be able to get the rest of our team back? And I've been saying it feels reminiscent of the beginning of COVID, almost 5 years to the day to when we had to do the same thing when manufacturing was shut down in Quebec. And it just feels like this might actually have more catastrophic effects and ripples across the industry than even COVID-19. But we are a resilient company. We went through that and we made it to the other side. And I believe we'll make it to the other side of this. And I'm looking for those silver linings that this will get private monetary support, public monetary support, retailer support, and that we can all rally to the other side.
In terms of support, you're going to be going to the Economic Summit. You're going to be participating in all of that, making your voice heard on the issues that you've just laid out for us this morning. When you mentioned COVID, there were supports, there was CERB, there were various wage issues that were offered by the government. There is talk of support for companies and for workers. What specific kind of support would you like to see this time? There were some problems with how it went last time. What do you think needs to come into place this time?
So I think that what we need desperately is even access to just loan capital would be incredibly helpful. That's long-term, potentially forgivable if we're able to bring back some of our employees. That's just immediate support that can help today. Other things that would be helpful would be incentives for investors to invest in Canadian manufacturing, because right now we're an advanced manufacturing technology company, but technology investors would rather invest in a web app than in manufacturing infrastructure. And how do we change that narrative? How do we show that this is actually the backbone of the entire stack? And I think incentives would mean a lot there. We're also hoping that we can see things like, what if we use the counter tariff to actually pay back some of the tariffs that our companies are actually having to pay out?
That's
as
been
some
a discussion
way of balancing.
point. Yes.
Exactly. So I think it's going to take everything, but then also incentives to buy Canadian. I think we need to create those incentives for our retailers that have the big purchasing power so that they can actually execute purchase orders this month that make a big difference. Also, those purchase orders being paid up front would help a lot of companies too. One thing people don't understand is we're a fairly seasonal business. Think of it as like winter jackets for your legs when you're thinking about tights. But we ship most of our product in the summer, and then retailers don't pay us till the fall. So we're actually building up inventory all year and not getting paid for the fall till the fall, and that's putting even more pressure. So we're going out to our U.S. suppliers, our international buyers, and asking for better terms. We're asking for, can we get paid faster? Can we pay slower? Can we do anything to shorten those working capital cycles?
When you hear from officials, everything is on the table. It sounds like everything is on the table from a business model standpoint too.
And we're going to need to pick up every little tiny win that we can to piece it together.
To continue on. Your tights are famous for being indestructible.
Yes.
As the person who brought that through all of those many years to bring it to market and to the level of success it currently enjoys, what's it like to be, on the verge of potentially being destroyed by outside forces? What
I would say is that building a manufacturing business and advanced technology business in Canada is so hard at every single stage that even something as big as this, you almost look at it like the next thing. This is the next hard thing. There's no ecosystem to support manufacturing in Canada. The funders aren't there. The factories aren't there. The skilled labor is usually not in the right industry, so you're training most of your staff that you bring in. We went through things like COVID. We were not a favored category in COVID. No one was leaving their house, so for a while, tights were not what they were buying. So this is just really, we've become resilient. We've become very steeled to some of these challenges, and I think that's what gives us the confidence that we'll make it through this too.
I appreciate so much the time with you. You need to get over to that summit because you need to make those very concrete points and strategies to the leaders who are going to be plotting the strategy for the country. Thank you so much, Katherine. I hope to be in conversation with you again.
Amazing. Thank you.